Hi there, this is Joan-Marie Domino and welcome to my channel. I've got 4 fun Halloween projects for you. I'm going to be using beautiful napkins from Vippies Designs, www.vippies.com, and I'll be using a lot of other very common craft supplies. And as usual, especially for my beginner friends, I'm going to take you step by step and I'm going to teach you different decoupage techniques that you can apply to any of your decoupage projects. Okay, well here's a little sneak peek at what we're going to be making. Let's get started. All right, so let's take a look at what we're going to be using in the very first project. So I have a black stamp pad, a beautiful napkin from Vippies Designs, it's gorgeous, a wood slice, and decoupage glue, Mod Podge glue. I'll put links for all of these things below in the description box. Okay, remember to follow along. I have some great tips for you. Now this is a regular wood slice and it's about 4.5 inches wide. They do come in other sizes. I decided to do a bigger one. Now here's a great tip. Give the wood slice a good wipe down, especially along the edge, because that bark really tends to shed. And this is a very easy thing to do. It just takes you an extra 30 seconds. And I'm going to be using Mod Podge Decoupage glue. You can get those little bottles at the Dollar Tree in case you are just a beginner and just starting with decoupage. So I'm going to take my little container of Mod Podge. That's what I have. I just buy bigger containers and I put them into small containers. And I'm going to go all the way around the wood slice, sealing in the bark. Now, I know some of you like to give these things as gifts, or some even sell at craft shows. You want to make sure you don't skip this step. Then I'm going to let it dry. Now I'm going to give the wood slice a coat of paint, and I'm using my favorite, which is by Rustoleum, and it's called Chalky paint. I'm using white linen. And before I forget, all the products I use, I put the links below down there in the description box. So once I'm done, I'm going to give it some time to dry. One of the funnest parts of decoupage, right, is going through napkins to find one that's going to work with your project. And boy, Vippies Designs has so many beautiful napkins to choose from. And I love these cats. They're spooky and they're Halloween, but they're also very pretty. Well, ultimately, this is the napkin I decided to use. Love that cat looking out the window. All right, I'm only going to need 1 panel of this napkin. I'm going to remove the back plies, which are not printed, so I have that nice sheer top layer, and I can see through it and line it up perfectly on the wood slice. Now that I have the napkin exactly where I want it, I want to trim it to size, and I'm going to be using my water brush pen. The water brush pen has a little tube filled with water, and the water feeds through into the brush, and it makes it really easy to do a nice soft tear. You don't have to have a water brush. You can also take a little brush and dip it into water and do the same thing. But I'm going to give you the link for the water brush below anyway. I'm going to hold it up so that you can have a little peek, and notice I didn't need to use the whole napkin and it works perfect. So now I want to adhere the napkin to the wood slice. I'm going to be using Mod Podge, which is a decoupage glue, and I lifted up half of it, put the Mod Podge on the wood slice, and now I'm going to spread it out. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom part of the napkin, and I want to share a tip with you because a lot of you ask me, do I put a sealant on top? And a lot of times I have Mod Podge on my brush. And since Mod Podge has sealant properties, I'm actually sealing the napkin at the same time. Now I'm putting a piece of plastic wrap on, and I'm going to smooth the napkin. I'm using a crumpled up piece of napkin. Then I'm going to very carefully remove the plastic wrap, and then I'm going to hold it up so you can see. And remember, this napkin has a white background. Big tip, that's why we want to use white paint underneath. I want to blend the edges of the napkin, and I'm going to do that by using a stamp pad. So I chose black. I thought that would work really well. This is a black memories pad, and I'm going to be using my round sponge pouncer. And this is very, very simple. I'm just going to take it, I'm going to pounce it into the pad, and I'm going to go all the way around the edge, especially over where I tore the napkin, and it's really going to help to blend it in. And that black is definitely going to add add a little bit of spookiness to it. And when I'm done, I'm just going to let that dry. Oh, I love how this is coming out. I'm going to hold it up so you can take a look. Really pretty. And the edges of the napkin are barely visible. So that is a very big tip I wanted to share with you. Since this is an ornament, I want to put a hanger on it. So I'm going to use a little piece of twine and some hot glue. So I put hot glue down in one spot and I'm going to make sure it's adhered. And now here's a big tip. Before I put glue on the other side, I always make sure that it's going to hang properly. And you know that, of course, it's not upside down. So I could put a little bit of hot glue on the other side, and once it's cooled, I'm just going to trim off those little pieces of twine. All right, now I want to hold it up and show you. I want to hold it up there really close. Again, look at the beautiful black edges and the cat looking out the window. I think that these ornaments would make a good alternative to maybe trick-or-treat candy or just a little bit of decor for your home. But you know what? Do you have a friend who loves a cat or a relative? Maybe they have a black cat. This would make such a great gift for them. And now we're on to project number 2. So let's take a look at the supplies I'm going to be using. Ordinary acrylic paint, a beautiful napkin from Vippies Designs, and hey, aren't those carrots from the Dollar Tree? I'm going to be using Mod Podge, some glitter glue, and a black Sharpie marker. Again, this is a great project for beginners. Follow along step by step. So yes, indeedy, these are carrots from the Dollar Tree. Now, I'm not going to need the whole carrot. I'm only going to need, I guess, the carrot part itself. So I'm going to cut the top part off, and I'm using a pair of scissors that work really well on cutting wood, and I'll make sure to put the link for that down below. Now, as I cut these off, I want you to take a look at the shape that I'm left with. I'm going to hold it up. All right, I'm wondering if you can guess what my next project is going to be. Now I'm going to add some paint, and this is just cheap paint, nothing special. I'm going to put a little bit onto my paper plate, and I'm going to start with the color orange. Now, carefully watch what I'm doing here. All right, I'm putting the paint right in the center. Now, you might be wondering, wait a minute. This is a carrot. Why aren't you doing the whole thing in orange? Well, I have a feeling my very crafty friends are starting to figure out exactly what this is going to be. And by the way, if you're a new crafting friend, just starting to watch my channel or maybe just this video, I hope that you will subscribe and that you will hit the notification bell and don't miss any more of my upcoming videos. I'm going to give the orange a little time to dry before I move on to the next color, which is going to be yellow. I always like to shake them a little bit to make sure that the paint is well mixed. I'm going to put a little bit on my paper plate, and by the way, paper plates are great to work on top of. Now, the yellow paint is going to go underneath the orange. So I think most of my smart crafting friends know that I'm making a candy corn. And I'm going to do that on all 3 of them. And I just want to give you a quick tip. I did the orange in the middle first because it really worked best that way. All right, now I'm going to give that yellow paint a little time to dry. And now I'm on to the last color paint, which of course is going to be white. And before I forget, I want to give a shout out to my returning viewers and those of you who follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. I know that you're there and I really appreciate it. And I love all the feedback I get from you. And I love when you show me your projects as well. You could always do that on my Facebook page. Okay, here's my candy corn, and they're all dry. Look cute in a group, don't they? And you know what? No calories. Okay, so here are some of the napkins I picked out from Vippies Designs. Now, I want you to notice a couple of things. The background of the napkins is basically white. This one is a little bit gray, but the ink is black. And the thing about that and why I chose these is because these images are going to look really good on top of the colors in the candy corn. So I'm only going to be using the top ply. I'm going to put the candy corn down on top. Now look, I can see right through it and put the napkin exactly where I want. Now I'm going to put some Mod Podge on top, and I'm going to spread it around, and always use a thin coat and make sure you cover the entire surface. Now I'm going to put my napkin on top, and remember, because this ply, it's the top ply and it's sheer, I can put it down exactly where I want it. And again, I'm going to take a little bit of Mod Podge and go over that just to give it a little bit of sealant. A piece of plastic wrap, and I'm going to smooth it out some more. All right, let's move on to another one. These are so much fun. Truthfully, I couldn't stop making these. And I'm going to put more Mod Podge on. And again, I want to do a nice even coat. And once the Mod Podge is on, I'm going to take this napkin. Now, I can't use this whole napkin, obviously, but I can use a part of it. Look at that. I can use the skeleton waving. It fits perfect. A little bit of Mod Podge on top and my plastic wrap just to smooth it out really well. All right, let's move on to one more napkin. Again, it's a white napkin with this deep, dark black ink on it. And again, this napkin, no, it's not going to fit on the candy corn, but I'm going to get a nice piece of it. I'm going to hold the napkin on top, move it around, and I can see I'm going to get some of the witch. I'm going to get some of the haunted house, and it fits perfectly. Doesn't have to be the whole napkin. It's still very, very decorative. I'm going to put a little bit of Mod Podge on top. And I'm now going to place down that napkin. Now, another little tip, don't press it down all the way until you know you have the napkin in a good spot. And a little bit of plastic wrap on top to make it nice and smooth. Now, I'm going to let them dry, and now I'm going to move on to the next step. The next step is to remove that extra napkin. I'm going to be using my favorite tool, the finger sander. I'm going to use a downward stroke, and I'm going to be able to remove all that extra napkin and have a nice, clean edge. I love how this is coming out. I wanted to give you more ideas. So I went to the Dollar Tree and I bought some letters. So I was able to spell out the word boo. You can do other words as well. And don't forget, pull out all of your glitter glues to embellish. I wanted to do something with the edge, so I pulled out another one of my favorite products, which is the Rub and Buff. And I'm going to put a little bit on my paper plate, and I have a sponge applicator. I'm going to take the Rub and Buff and just go around the edge to give it like a metallic border. You don't have to use Rub and Buff. You can use paint. You can use marker. You can even use your stamp pads to go all the way around just to finish them off. And just a quick tip, that Rub and Buff, you have to wait for it to dry. If you get it on your fingers, it's permanent. So I just wanted to give you that little heads up. These are some very, very strong magnets, and I'm going to put them on the back because I thought these would be really cute on a refrigerator. And I'm using E6000, which is like an industrial strength glue. I want to make sure that the magnet is going to stay on. I'm going to place it on top of the glue. You only need a little tiny bit. And again, a little heads up. Don't put your finger in the glue because it's very hard to get off once you have it on. All right, you want to give it about 48 hours to cure. This is a metal tray I got from the Dollar Tree, and I had given it a coat of white paint for another project, and I never used it. So now I'm going to give it a coat of black paint. I'm using chalk paint, and I'm applying it with a sponge pouncer. So I'm not being especially neat about this, but I am going to give it a nice coat. And then when I'm done, I'm going to give it some time to dry, and I'm going to hold it up so that you can see. I did end up roughing up some of it, especially where the embossing is, using my finger sander. Okay, so this is what I was thinking. If you want to give something out for trick-or-treat, whether it's for kids or maybe family members or even the people you work with, putting them on the metal tray, they're going to adhere, then they could pick out the one that they want. And you don't have to do Halloween. I put a little wooden leaf on top as well. So again, a great alternative to candy. And then they could take it home. They could put it on the refrigerator. And every time they look at it, they're going to think of you. And they're not going to put it away after Halloween. And now we're on to project number 3. Let's take a look at what we're going to be using. Another adorable napkin. Look how cute that is, from Vippies Designs, Mod Podge, and some scrap corrugated cardboard. All right, let's get started. First, I'm going to look through some napkins from Vippies Designs, some of their Halloween napkins, and I chose this one with that cat. It's so adorable. Now I'm going to take some Mod Podge. I'm actually going to be putting on top of a piece of cardstock. This is actually an upcycle project, and this is just a scrap piece of cardboard and it was already white. I didn't even have to paint it. The glue is dry and now I'm ready to adhere the napkin, and again I'm only using the top printed ply. That's a piece of baking parchment I'm putting on top, and I'm going to be using my Cricut iron at the hottest setting. I'm going to go over the napkin. The glue is melting and now the napkin is adhering perfectly to the piece of cardstock. Let it cool and then we'll remove the piece of baking parchment. And now I'm going to move on to the next step. These are some easel backings that came out of old frames, and it's kind of an upcycle project, so I wanted to use them for something. I'm going to take some hot glue and put it on the side that doesn't have the easel, and then I'm going to take the cardstock with the napkin and press it down really well, make sure it's adhered. Now I'm going to clip off, or cut off actually, that little piece of napkin at the top. Now I'm moving on to some scraps of cardstock I had, corrugated cardstock, and I'm actually going to use that to make a frame. I'm painting the corrugated cardboard with like this goldenrod color paint, it's chalk paint, and I'm going to color all four sides. Those are going to go around the picture, and when I'm done, I'm going to let them dry. Once the little pieces of corrugated cardboard are dry, I'm using some hot glue to apply them around the picture. And if you notice, the little frame is also covering up that part of the cardstock that didn't have any napkin. I didn't know if you noticed that. Now, because I used the backings of these frames, it already had like little hooks in the back where you can hang it, and I just added a little piece of twine. I want to hold it up so that you can see. Has such a vintage look, and that cat is absolutely adorable. I did a little more additions to it. I added this little messy bow and these half pearls in all of the corners. Now, I'm going to throw a little curveball here because I really didn't like that messy bow. So I looked through my stash and I found something I liked even more, and it was these foam flowers. I really like that in the corner better. So remember, look through your stash and you can always change your mind. And I'm on to my fourth and last project. Let me take a look and see what we have inside the box. There is a glass jar from the Dollar Tree, a pumpkin, some other little notions, berries, some Mod Podge, and this one I'm also going to need a candle. All right, let's get started. This is a glass jar I got from the Dollar Tree. Now, a few years ago, I did a video where I was using glass and I showed you how you can make the glass look frosted by using matte Mod Podge. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dip my brush into the Mod Podge and I'm just going to do a downward stroke and go all the way around the jar. I'm putting it on just a little bit thicker than I normally would do. And once I've gone all the way around the jar, I'm also going to do the bottom. And when the bottom is done, I'm going to put this off to dry. Now that the jar has dried, I want to hold it up and show you. Look how nice and frosted that glass looks. But you know what? I am going to go ahead and put on coat number 2. And remember, I'm using matte Mod Podge. I'm putting it on pretty much the same way, and I am putting it on, again, kind of on the heavy side. I decided to give the glass a little bit of texture, so I'm using my round sponge pouncer and I'm going all over the glue while it's still wet. Now, this is just something I decided to do. If you want to, you can just leave it the way it is with the brush marks and it's absolutely fine. All right, let's take a look at my finished jar. Actually, this jar came with a little handle, which was great because now I could hang it up like a lantern. So I put some raffia around it, a little bat I got from the Dollar Tree, and I put a little flameless candle on the inside as well. And I love how this came out. And I can definitely see hanging this in the garden, maybe a few of them in the yard right around Halloween. Now, you can also use it to hold candy, right? Not there's some candy corn I put inside. Now, there's one other thing I want to show you that you can do with these glass jars. Now, I love to give you all kinds of ideas, and these are rub-offs, and I got them at the Dollar Tree. I mean, you get a ton of them on each card, and they're $1.25, and they're very simple to do. And again, you can do it right on top of that frosted glue. I hope you like these Halloween DIYs. Remember, they're beginner friendly. That was the wood slice. And what about this project? They were carrots I got from the Dollar Tree, and I just snipped them off. It was so simple to do. And for upcycling, I chose some cardboard, some corrugated cardboard, and I created a really cute little wall decor that you can hang up. And as my final project, this is a little lantern. You can also do it with the jar, and I showed you how you can frost the glass just by doing a couple coats of matte Mod Podge. Share these projects with your crafting friends. Share my YouTube channel too, Decoupage DIY with Joan-Marie Domino, and thank you for watching.